Have you ever wondered why Ferrari cars are red, Aston Martins are green and McLarens are orange? 60 years ago, race cars looked like this. One color, no extra stickers or sponsors.
But time will pass, and today's cars will look like advertising billboards. Up to 40 sponsors, a lot of stickers, and paint not on all elements of the car. How did this happen? Let's figure it out.
Today we'll learn what the teams get their signature colors from, how the appearance of the car has changed, and what the Marlboro Cowboy has to do with it. So, I'll tell you the complete history of liveries in the Queen of Motorsport. Make yourself comfortable, we are starting. Let's start with the definition of the word livery. As a rule, it is the external design of a car, that is stickers, vinyl or special paint. On civilian cars, liveries are made to make the car unique and more individual. Well, in racing it is due to liveries that we can distinguish between cars of different teams. Today in Formula 1, creating liveries is a very complex process. Proper placement of sponsors, expensive seamless paint, stickers and lacquer. All this take a huge amount of time, and the most important things in that the cars are retouched after each race, because this is affect aerodynamics and appearance.
But it wasn't always difficult. Initially, each country had its own national color. At one of the meetings of International Association Recognized Automobile Clubs, later it's FIA, a sports code was drawn up, which clearly prescribed a color of the countries. In essence, when choosing a color, the Commission was guided by the color in a flag of particular countries.
Let me read you this list. Italy, red. Belgium, yellow. Britain, green. Germany, white. France, blue. Spain, red and yellow. USA, blue and white. Switzerland, red and white.
By the way, have you noticed how much red there is? Yes! For some reason, racing teams from different countries wanted to claim it. For example, before the color code was approved, Americans raced under a red flag, and Italians were very unhappy about this. And there was another country that was not included in the regulation, because in that time it didn't have a motorsport. And that country is Japan. But as soon as Honda appeared in Formula 1, they patriotically painted their cars in red and white colors.
By the way, everyone knows that Mercedes are called silver arrows, right? Although initially German cars were painted white. According to legend, in 1934 in one of the races, Mercedes brought an insane car but encountered an overweight issue. So overnight they stripped all the paints off the car and won that race.
Is it true? I doubt it. The public first heard this story in 1958. So, for more than 20 years before that, everyone just kept silent. Sounds weird.
Moreover, sports commentators in early 30s were already calling Mercedes silver arrows, and cars of another German team, Auto Union, were also painted in this color. In 2019, Mercedes even made a special livery with street white paint in honor of the anniversary of the Smith.
We all know the McLaren team and their signature orange color.
Wait a minute, McLaren is a British team, so their signature color should be green, right? Yes, that's correct. But in 1968, Bruce McLaren painted his cars orange. But why orange? It's simple. At that time, color television appeared, and Bruce wanted his cars to stand out in a peloton. You might ask me, where are the sponsors? Weren't there any in racing back then? They were, but only technical ones. Firestone, for example, provided tires, and Shell provided fuel for the Grand Prix. So the guys work on barter basis for tires, fuel, or hotel accommodation. And this wasn't just in Formula 1. Here is USAC Racing Series car. We see the inscription D1 Line Special. This is team name and all of their title sponsor. What do you think this company did? Maybe they made watches or champagne for the rich? No, they were involved in moving things during locations. And their sponsorship consisted of transporting stuff, equipment and teams to races for free.
However, racing became more and more expensive, and soon not every enthusiast could afford to participate in Formula 1. Even those who had to participate in the championship for more than 10 years began to feel uncomfortable. Therefore, a new era began in Formula 1 in 1968. They say money doesn't smell. But sponsors' money in the late 60s in Formula 1 definitely had a smell, and it was a smell of tobacco.
In 1968, two cigarette brands appeared on the starting grid. Gunston, which sponsored its team founded a year earlier, and John Special Player, which sponsored the Lotus team. And the car was repainted in their corporate colors. And you know, the sponsorship was successful. Millions of spectators in the stand on a television watched the first sponsors in Equino Motorsport. And that was precisely the time when marketers were showing that cigarettes were as brutal as possible. For example, the campaign with Marlboro Cowboy had been going on for 16 years, and it was he who started the thesis that not only girls smoke the cigarettes, but also really cool men. A couple of years later, other tobacco brands will start coming to Formula 1. Camel, Rothmans, and other tobacco companies began to look at Formula 1 with interest.
Let's talk about the most popular one, Marlboro. They came to Formula 1 in 1972 and were initially sponsor of the BRN team. And a year later, they became a sponsor of Frank Williams' first project. But these were all mediocre teams, and it seems they didn't come up to the ambitions of the red and white.
In 1973, John Hogan joined the company. This man was one of the first to understand that Formula 1 it's not just racing, but a commercial project. Therefore, in 1974, he convinced the management to sponsor McLaren. Remember the signature orange color of their working team? Forget about it. Now their cars have red and white livery, just like the famous cigarette pack. For more than 20 years of cooperation, McLaren transformed from young and ambitious team into a giant, whose dominance even top teams sometimes couldn't keep up with.
But everything eventually comes to an end. And in 1996, Marlboro fully focused on its cooperation with Ferrari, with whom they had already been involved since 1984.
It was very profitable for Marlboro to be with them, because in Italy, their second largest market after the US, cigarette advertisement was banned. But as they became the sponsor of Italy's pride, Ferrari, any Italian subconsciously began to respect Marlboro. They became the first non-technical sponsor that Enzo Ferrari allowed to place advertisements on his cars. In the first year, the Italians placed A4 size tobacco brand logo. In 1996, they became the title sponsor of the Italian team, and their logo would be many times larger.
This would be the most successful period in Ferrari's history, winning 6 Constructor Cups in a row and 5 Schumacher's championships.
But in 2005, the World Health Organization seriously took up the ban on cigarette advertising. Besides, a couple of conflicts flared up about the composition and additives in cigarettes that cause greater addiction. Yes, tobacco companies and Marlboro in particular really didn't want to leave. They changed the logo to a barcode, made consonant slogans, or simply changed the shape of the car. But in 2016, Marlboro finally left Formula 1, although then they returned for some time. In general, if you are interested in the history of Marlboro in Formula 1, let me know in the comments and we will make a separate video about it.
And even though the tobacco era ended, tobacco companies could not be completely squeezed out. For example, McLaren advertised Vela nicotine pouches, which do not contain tobacco. However, in a Dutch Grand Prix, they were forbidden to promote the brand, and then they changed the inscription to love. So, if there is almost no tobacco money left in Formula 1, who is sponsoring the most expensive sport? Throughout its history, Formula 1 has had a huge number of sponsors, some you wouldn't even expect to see, for example Durex or Canon. But let's talk about the title sponsor in each team. They pay the most money, and their name can be found in a team's name. For example, Red Bull has Oracle, Ferrari has HP, and Williams has Atlassian.
These are companies that deal with software. There are also quite a few oil companies proudly displayed in team names. Aramco sponsor Aston Martin and Petronas sponsor Mercedes. Payment systems have also joined in. MasterCard has become a title sponsor of McLaren. Visa cooperate with Racing Bulls, and Haas cooperate with MoneyGram.
The most unusual sponsor, in my opinion, are Alpine. The company BWT deals with water purification system.
Crypto exchanges also have quite noticeable logos, Bybit or OKX. And of course, if a team is associated with a car brand, they also get some money from them. McLaren currently has the most sponsors, 54, while Haas has the fewest, only 20, but don't think that quantity equals team level. For example, Alpine has almost twice as many sponsors as Mercedes, 49 versus 25. I think that here a combination of factors impacts: the team's level and result, the price, and the condition of particular spot on the car. By the way, yes, the price for spot on the nose of the car and for spot on the rear wing will be different. Cinema occupies a special place in Formula 1. The coolest livery was at the Monaco Grand Grand Prix in 2005. Then they collaborate with Star Wars and even the mechanics had a special helmets. Red Bull also collaborate with Superman and even James Bond. Lotus advertised Mad Max and even built their own post-apocalyptic car. Toyota advertised The Dark Knight in 2008 and Jarno truly drove around Silverstone next to real Batmobile. And what do you think about the idea of placing precious stone worth $300,000 over the nose of a car? Jaguar came up with such advertising campaign for the movie Ocean's 12. By the way, during a race one stone was lost, and the stones were not even insured. But as Mark Webber later admitted, these stones were worth maximum of few dollars. And yet someone picked up that stone and thought they were rich. Recently, the Alpine team brought a special livery to the Belgian Grand Prix in 2024 for premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine. It looks absolutely stunning.
Teams can also bring in special liveries for certain stages. The main enthusiasts for doing something interesting are Red Bull. Yes, they used to write the name of fans on a car, made various interesting liveries for tests and during the season. The most famous of these was a Turkish Grand Prix in 2021. Red Bull was not blue but white and red, referencing Honda cars of the 60s. And in 2025, by the way, they recreated the livery.
Mercedes, though, rarely delights fans. They made a special livery with white paint, painted the halo red in honor of Niki Lauda. Ferrari loves to bring a special liveries to their home race in Monza. And for their 1000th Grand Prix, they painted the car in darker shade of red, the color used to Ferrari's first race cars. And also in 2001, in memory of those who died on September 11, they removed all sponsors and painted the noses black in the morning. McLaren brings liveries to Monaco, where they pay tribute to Ayrton Senna, and to Silverstone, where lately they indulge in nostalgia for 2000 and their chrome liveries. Racing Bulls are famous for their bold experiments at Miami Grand Prix and interesting collaborations, for example with street artists. Perhaps Haas and Aston Martin have the few special liveries.
Unfortunately, there are less and less paint or film on today's cars. The teams are saving weight, but along with it, the beauty of the cars is also disappearing.
The most legendary liveries, in my opinion, date back to 2000s. Ferrari's Marlboro, blue and yellow Renaults, chrome McLarens, classic Red Bull and contrasting Hondas. Back then, the peloton looked very beautiful.
What are your favorite liveries? Write in a comment, we would love to read them. Well, that's all for me today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're interested in Formula 1 content and see you around.